Hey everyone, welcome back to Overtake. I'm Yannick and I'm not alone today. I've got some reinforcements that you may or may not know. You probably do if you are into historic sim racing and happen to frequent YouTube. It's none other than GP Labs, also known as Jake. Hey Jake, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right, Yannick. How you doing?
Good, thank you. Well, glad that you join us for a little insight here. Hopefully, should be a very interesting conversation. Anyone who's picked up your videos or my recent live streams will know that we are both very much into the historic side of sim racing, and we figured that that should be a pretty interesting topic to talk about, especially since it's a bit of a niche within a niche. Do you agree?
It definitely is. But it's been interesting because I feel like there's, if it's not me getting more involved with it, it feels like it's growing, and more and more folks are finding that vintage cars and vintage racing is a lot of fun within the Sims.
Absolutely, yeah, totally agree on that, and I think it's good that people pick up on this. Feels like we're at the tail end of a bit of an esports or popularity craze, if you will, which of course always focused on modern machinery, most of the time GT3 or sometimes F1, if the series was so inclined, that sort of stuff, which many sim racers past a certain age don't really find all that interesting. Do you think that some sort of historic series on that sort of level could maybe be something that interests more people, or could even take off a little bit because it's just, so different maybe?
I definitely think we've done a little bit ourselves, say us with my community, and it's
Right.
definitely not just me, which is why I refer to it as a group. But I ran a historic sports car series last fall, so not 2023 but 2022, and it felt pretty popular for what it was. It wasn't something that we specifically did like a lot of big announcements and things to try to get tons of drivers, but I feel like we found most of the R Factor 2 community involved with it, and it was so popular that it actually became really tricky to run, because we had so many people involved and we had to come up with all these processes for how the grids would be set and stuff. But it was awesome, and it seemed pretty popular at the time. There's a poster behind me of one of the ones we made for one of the races. It was a lot of fun, and it felt like it was something that people wanted a lot more of. There are a lot of online racing communities that focus on historic racing, THR and HSO, and I'm just looking at my list of all the Discord channels I'm in, different racing series and stuff. And so if you want to do online racing that's historic racing, then you can find it. But there definitely is not a big time series that's backed by either an official racing series or something outside of sim racing that's putting money into it to run historic races. I think the only thing we had that was somewhat like that was during the pandemic with the race group. They did organized a bunch of races, and it was mostly real drivers involved in the races, and they had a group for some of the older F1 drivers that were racing like 70s F1 cars.
All right, yeah.
That's the only time I feel like I've seen like a mainstream esports race that involved historic cars like that.
Yeah.
But I hope there's more of it. I mean, I think there's definitely a large group of people out there that like older cars, and a lot of times I find that we're not that picky. We'll drive whatever's around as long as it slides, right?
Right, yeah.
But it would be cool to see something that's a bit higher profile, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that it would throw a different spin on it, if you will, just because there's different techniques involved. Like you see so many rigs just featuring two pedals these days, which for me personally anyway would be a big no. That just can't happen. Sim racing, of course, has made quite some strides over the last few years, especially during the pandemic, and popularity as well, but also what's on offer. Because especially looking at historic content, you really had to rely on mods for most of the time. Now, other publishers pick up on the want for that kind of. First and foremost, I think Ryza is doing a good job on that. what would be your wish for the next few years in sim racing? If you could, have one thing that would be super cool to have for you, what would that be?
Gosh, I should have thought of something. I assumed maybe we'd get some questions like this. Yeah, I love what Rise has been doing, and I've done a lot of videos and stuff on their updates and things, and so much so that I think people think I'm working for them or something, but I'm not. I just enjoy. It's cool to see a sim have first party, historic content. I would love something to come along that's a little more focused in what it does. I think we see. I mean, for as much as I like what Automobilista 2 is doing, and having so many different cars and things, something that's missing from Sims is that general. I don't want to call it vibe, but atmosphere. That's the word I was looking for. Like the atmosphere surrounding certain types of racing, and that's what I feel like some of the older Sims did pretty well.
Yeah,
like the Grand Prix Legends and things, and not even just in the fact that I'm a big proponent for single player racing, but I think you could still benefit from the same things in a multiplayer environment. Is if you have some sort of dedicated sim that has the right rules and the right events and the right tracks and cars, all as one package,
right?
And everything is authentic to what it's trying to simulate. It adds that little extra to it that makes it a lot of fun. So I'd love to see something that comes along, and kind of like how ACC these days, I think is that for some modern racing, right? They really focus in on the GT3. They just added those GT2 cars and stuff, but it's modern sports car racing that is their focus.
Yeah.
And everything in that sim is catered to that. It would be neat if something could come along that, I don't know a specific decade or something I would pick or type of racing, but just give me everything associated with that type of thing, whatever it is. It'd be a lot of fun. I think it's a really tough thing to do, and I can understand why some developers don't do it these days. What's the market out there for even a 60s Formula One sim? It's like Grand Prix Legends 2. I'm not sure what kind of market exists for something like that these days, but it would be so cool to see a dedicated sim of some kind for vintage racing of some sort, and have all those bells and whistles that come along with it.
We shall see what the future brings. Yeah, I think, or I'm pretty sure we could keep this going for like 2 or 3 hours more. At least I feel like that. But to keep it a bit shorter and sweeter, Jake, thank you so much for taking the time to be on Overtake here. Really appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you, Yannick.
I hope we can do a part 2 at some point, maybe. If you liked this video and the other stuff we're doing, definitely be sure to like and subscribe, of course. And with that, I say goodbye and leave the last words, so to speak, to our guest, of course.
Oh my gosh, it's a lot of pressure, but yeah, I appreciate folks watching. If you watch through this, and hopefully, Yannick, we can get out on the track together sometime as well. I don't know what you've got planned for this year, but it'd be fun to do some racing together.
Absolutely, would love that. All right, take care, people. See you around next time. Bye.